वक्रतुंड महाकाय सूर्यकोटि समप्रभ निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा. I offer my obeisance to the divine in you. I'm going to cover an important topic today. It's about relationships. They are not new to you. Interestingly, most people, their life revolves around relationships. But an overwhelming majority are not happy with the state of their relationships. So I'm going to cover the spiritual side, or call the yogic or the meditational side of relationships, as well as the practical side. So let's start. What is a relationship? Is it a transaction? Is relationship a transaction of convenience, of needs, of desires? Or is it a bond of love? Does a relationship come about because there is a bond, or because there is a need? In other words, I'm asking, is it because of the bonds that people share common needs and therefore a relationship? Or is it because of the needs that they get into a relationship and form a bond? The notion in the West is somewhat different to what is in the East. Although it is a stereotypical statement, so therefore it is not the complete truth. But in the East, the concept of arranged marriage is still quite prevalent. It is based on the belief that two people can find a common ground and be committed to a relationship. The educated people, whether in the East or the West, believe that they must find common ground before they can commit to a relationship. When a relationship is born out of need, clearly it is a selfish relationship and may just wither away when needs are fulfilled. When the relationship is the result of a bond two people share, it tends to last longer. However, I am not suggesting that they are mutually exclusive. it is possible that two people have a common set of needs as well as a bond. But often you find people not happy. They are often wanting more. And what is funny is they justify their wanting more by saying that what they want is actually just. What they want is not much. But the key to remember is that is your viewpoint. That viewpoint may not be shared by your partner. The greater the disparity in that viewpoint, the more fragile the bond. People talk about love, and people talk about relationships, and people talk about being in love and out of love and falling in love and loving and the differentiation in all these terms. However, I feel love is a term that has been used and abused so much that it almost now means all those things it is not. Love is independent. If nature loves you, it gives you rain regardless. It gives you food regardless. It is not saying to you, if you don't love me, I am not going to give you that I used to give you. And that is the fundamental difference between love and a transaction. When a relationship is a transaction, it's just a convenient transaction, it's just an institution, then both people are pretty much competing for their needs. And that is the irony of this world. From ever since you can recall, you have been taught to compete. For everything you got in life, you pretty much had to work for it, you pretty much had to work towards it, and you pretty much had to compete for it. However, love is not about competition. Love is not about give and take. I know you may not agree with me on this one right now, but if we purely look at the concept of love, the definition of love, believe it or not, love is not a give and take proposition. Love is actually about giving. Giving love, giving freedom, giving that personal space. And something I've said earlier as well in some of the other talks, that when you give something out, let's say it's love, you may not get love back from the same person. Why? Because love is not a reciprocal arrangement with an individual. It is with God. It is with nature. So if you are giving out love, nature will certainly, most definitely, you can basically, it's like written on the stone, will give you love back. If you are giving love to your husband or your spouse, they may not be the one giving you love back directly, but you may get in multiple in multifold from your children or from other people. And love is of two types. One that is spontaneously out of you. The other one that you make an attempt to show. Sometimes when relations go sour, people have to work together to be back in love. It is often a hard thing. And it is hard not because it is not doable, but because it is based on expectations, on desires. And both expectations and desires are products of the conditioned mind. They're all based on conditioning. Some religion may allow you to have 3 wives, for example, whereas many others will regard it as illegal and immoral. So what is right and what is wrong? There is no independent definition of this. It is all subjective. From a practical standpoint of view, when you start to say, "What about me?" chances are you're already late in the equation. You're already at a point where you feel that things need some serious overhaul in the relationship, that is. Because when you are saying, "What about me?" that means either you feel it is not a fair relationship or you feel neglected. Basically, at that point in time, you feel lack of fulfillment. If we start to delve deeper into the causes of such disharmony between two people, we can keep counting till eternity and we'll still have more reasons. If you look at the spiritual side, you will know what I mean. From the spiritual point of view, when you love somebody and you expect something back in return, that is not love. And I give you the right to disagree, totally. But I hope by the end of this talk, when you've had the time to think about things, it may actually make sense to you. When you want something in return, and you're giving love because you want love in return, you have just created yourself an illusion of love. Love is not about getting things back. Love is just about giving to begin with, and doing so without expectations. When you start to give, you will start to open up. And that is going to set the ball rolling for many, many, many beautiful and divine things to flourish in your life. How you justify your expectations is your personal matter. But from the perspective of meditation, from the perspective of self-realization or spirituality, there is never ever any justification for any expectation whatsoever at all. Expectations are a product of the conditioned mind. It is your conditioning of the self or the soul of the mind, you can give it whatever term you want to give, that prompts you to expect. You expect out of a relationship because that is all you have seen. That is how you saw your parents possibly, or other relatives, or the preceding generations. Because you that's all you've been taught, and that's all what you have observed and absorbed. It is only natural that you expect. So whether your expectation is justified or not, I want to keep that aside for a moment. I just want to look at the consequences of having expectations at the first place. When you desire an outcome, when you want your partner to reciprocate in kind, you have just created yourself bondage. For yourself bondage. Now that is going to enfetter you, basically tie you down and unshackle you. For sure. Have no doubts on that front. Because now your happiness is dependent on the reaction or the reciprocation from somebody, from the other person. Now you've just created a dependency on something external. And there starts the beginning of non-fulfillment. So is it possible to be only giving in a relationship and not expect? Well, anything is possible actually. Is it right? You're not actually going to accept my answer on that one. Because it is not about right or wrong. I'm only looking at your happiness. If you want unconditioned and unconditional happiness, you have to give unconditionally. When you sow a seed in the ground, does it sprout right away, or does it take some time? From what I know, it always takes some time. So there is no quick fix. When you start to give, and you make a resolution that, okay, from today onwards, I'm just gonna be giving. And let me see how long it is before nature starts giving me back. Well, actually, that is the beginning of an expectation again. Just give. Just try. Okay, give yourself a reasonable time frame. 6 months? 1 year? Or something like that. The problem comes when you say, I did that, in the past. But he still did not bother. My husband or my wife, my spouse, my partner still did not change. Well, there's a problem. You started giving with the expectation at the first place. And that is exactly what we need to avoid here. We are not saying that here's a way to get love back from people. I'm saying here's a way to be happy, to be at peace. Because if you are peaceful inside and if you are happy inside, your life will become fulfilling automatically. There will be no competition at that point in time. You will not be competing with no one for love. Why? Because the infinite source of bliss is actually within you. All the love you can possibly want, or imagine, is within you. You want things from the external world because you have not started tapping into your inner world. Your communication with the inner world is actually broken down. So that is why you turn outward for everything, whether that is joy, happiness, love, satisfaction, gratification, you name it, anything. And because everything outside is scarce, interdependent, and conditional, therefore you're always having to compete. And that exercise, it's like ranging the universe from one end to the other. It is a never-ending exercise. You can be married to somebody for 40 years, for 30 years, for 50 years, and still actually feel that sense of non-fulfillment or unfulfillment, or both. Why? Because all these years, chances are you actually did not have a bond as such. You merely curbed your expectations. You merely curbed your desires. You put a lid on what you wanted. And because you put a lid on what you wanted, you may have projected to the outside world as a, happy couple or happy person. But the fact is, deep within you, you're not happy. Because nobody can be happy by curbing their desires. You have to understand the nature of the desires. You have to understand the nature of yourself. And then bliss will gush forth automatically. Because your true nature is bliss. And that is what's key to remember. So how can you get to bliss? And how can you discover your real nature? Once again, I have to tell you, there is no quick fix. You can intellectually calm yourself down. You can artificially make yourself believe that I no longer want anything. But you and I both know that is not going to help you. And that is also not the truth. Because just saying I don't want anything will not make you feel not wanted. You actually have to not want it. And it is possible. How? I will get to that in a moment. You see, because of your conditioning, like I said earlier, and because you want everything from the external world, from everything that is outside, you want to experience everything through the body. You want good food, good clothes, good shelter, and good society, and the rest of it. But that is all external. They are only designed to make your body look a certain way. Your fulfillment actually comes from emotions. And you can think about it deeply and you will find yourself in agreement to what I'm saying. So that fulfillment is always from within. It is not from outside. It's not from without. It is within. So sooner or later, you have to turn inward. You basically have two choices. You can keep riding the roller coaster of joys and sorrows of the material world, or you can turn inward and find that permanent state of happiness. When you find your true nature, when your journey of self-discovery finishes, your energy is going to be so purified. It is going to be so magnetic, so charismatic, so enigmatic that not just your partner, but everybody will only ever offer you love. And that is what I mean. And that is what I'm getting at. That you need to get to a stage within you that your happiness is no longer dependent on external things. And when you get to that stage, you will get so much of external happiness. Does that mean it is no longer going to matter at that point in time? No. What it means is you will become so pure that you will totally enjoy every moment of your life. You will have learned to live. You will have learned to love. You will have learned to laugh at things, at life, at yourself. That is the true you. The true you is not a mother or a wife or a daughter or a worker or a manager or a CEO. The true you is bliss. The true you is hiding in you. The true you is hiding behind your emotional self. So, you need to spend some time analyzing yourself. If a short-term solution, happiness or joy, or give it any name you want, is more important to you, and you don't want to work towards your own self-realization or that state where you feel that bliss, then there is not much I can do. Then it's gonna pretty much keep on going the way it is going. You will have happy days and you will have sad days. You will have days of joy and days of sorrow. You will have your share of sunshine and your share of rain. There will be sunny days and there will be muggy weather. But if you always only want one thing, and that is joy, and you want to become so that anybody who gets in touch with you can only ever feel love for you, then that is in your hands. Whether in today's date other people love you or not, whether your partner loves you the same way as you love him or her, is not in your hands. Because if you feel that they don't love you as much for the way you are presently, then I can guarantee you it will not matter what you do. They will not start loving you more. Those who love you, if they cannot accept you the way you are, if they cannot accept who you are, what you are, and where you are in your life, they will never accept you, because it is not love at the first place when it is conditional. When they have imposed a condition, fulfillment of which is the criteria for their loving you, it is not love, my friend. Think about it. And it goes for you as well. If you cannot accept your partner the way he or she is, and if you cannot love them for who they are, they can become God. You still will not be able to love them. That is the truth of false love. Because when you love, it is not conditional. If you have a pet and you love that pet communicates with you, but only very limited, in a very confined manner. But you still love that pet. Your dog is not going out there 9 to 5, earning money for you or paying the bills. But you don't hate your dog for that. Why? Because maybe it is far-fetched, yet it's the truth. Because you've accepted it. Because you have never seen a dog working and earning money. So you have accepted that when a dog is going to be at home, you'll have to feed him. And you'll have to clean up after him. But when it comes to other human beings in the family, suddenly your expectations go through the roof. Why? Do you have a very good reason for it? You may have a ton of very good excuses or justifications, but you are not going to have any reason for it. Why? Because love is beyond reason. When a relationship is underscored by love, it is always going to be rock solid. When it is held together by needs, it is not going to last very long. When it is the result of some bond which is dependent on both parties, it has some chances of survival. I know you have been trained to ask the question, why me? In fact, what about me, more importantly, is the question you ask in a relationship. There are two things you need to do. First is you somehow have to find time to meditate so that you can start cleaning yourself, your inner self, your real self, so you can remove layers and layers of conditioning. As you move closer to self-discovery, your relationships are going to improve infinitely. Infinite times more than you can imagine. Because when you start to gain that inner stability, I am not saying that your partner will suddenly start loving you a lot more. But when you start to gain that inner stability, you will start to see light from dark, trees from woods, and you will start to make your choices a lot more intelligently as well as naturally. Nature is going to start working with you. You will find yourself less and less in undesirable situations. And that is how your life is going to change. You may still choose to move on, but your next decision, your next choice is not going to give you grief. Because one, you have turned inward, you have discovered your source of bliss, therefore super knowledge will automatically blossom. It's a byproduct of a self-realized person, of self-realization, I should say. So when you start to make choices a lot more conducive to love, you will start to get a lot more love. But I have to say it again that your journey is not about getting love from outside. It is about discovering the love inside. You can keep going to counseling. You can keep on trying, patching your relationships. Or you can keep moving between relationships. Or start forming new ones. But all of these will not help you. Because if you are not happy, I'm sorry to tell you this, but if you are not happy, it is your problem. It is you who needs fixing. It is you who needs to make a trip to the garage and get serviced. Because your non-happiness is due to your own state of mind. Sometimes people go through a divorce. And the person they divorce, when that person gets into a new relationship, often is, I'm not sure if I can use the word often, but generally, is a happier person. It is not uncommon to hear that the person they have now married, they are actually quite happy. But you are not. And you may have married another person, but you're still not happy. What does that tell you? And if your relationship is because of fulfillment of certain needs, then stop complaining. If your needs are being met, if you are getting financially taken care of and the rest of it, then you really don't have a reason to complain, because subconsciously, chances are you actually knew from day one that this relationship is not because of a bond. It is not because of love. But it is, like I say, a convenient transaction. Now you have to accept it. Just because you have changed your mind now does not mean that the other person is terrible. It is you who we are concerned with, and it is you who we have to work with. So you need to find the time to meditate. Till such time that you start to quieten your mind, you are not ready to do self-analysis, believe it or not. Today, if you sit down to do self-analysis, chances are you cannot stay on a thought for more than 3 seconds. Your emotional turmoil, your inner turmoil will overtake as soon as you sit down and start to perform self-analysis. If I ask you, okay, make a list of all the things you don't like in your partner, I promise you, before you can finalize the list, you would have let so much of anger and frustration grow and come out of you, grow in you and come out of you, that you will be swept away. You will not be able to know what exactly is it that actually bothers you. To carry out penetrating analysis, your mind must be settled. And if your analysis is shaky, your choices will be like that too. It is only natural, isn't it? So, you need to turn inward. Right now, you want all the answers from the world outside, and you want to grasp everything from here, using this. But it is not the reason you are in a relationship. This is. And this is where you need to go. Go in. Go inside. Take a dive. See what you see there. Feel what you feel there. You will be amazed. You will get answers to questions you never thought could even be possible. So in summary, you cannot make a relationship good by negating your desires. That is out of question. That is first. Second, you cannot change the other person. Third, your state of happiness is your creation and is entirely dependent on you. Fourth, moving from one relationship to the other or getting into a new one may offer you temporary comfort, but eventually it is going to be like your present relationship. Fifth, you need to turn inward to discover your source of bliss, upon which your viewpoint, your perspective to look at the world, people, things, relationships, achievements, gains, loss, emotions, everything is going to change completely. And the changed you is going to be 1,000,000,000 times happier than the present you. That is what unconditioning does. You start to see needs versus desires versus expectations. You start to see emotions in their truest sense for what they are, and you start to see people as pure bliss. It is possible, but not without effort. You have to put in the effort. That is all I have for you today. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnmalaya Purnameva Vishishyate. Hari Om Tat Sat, Hari Om Tat Sat, Hari Om Tat Sat.